Hey girlfriends, welcome to Girl Talk today. I am so excited to have my very best friend Sarah back in the studio with us today as a guest on Girl Talk. And today we are talking about comparison. It's a tough topic.
Yes, it is.
And it's not something that I have mastered, and I don't think I ever will. I don't know if anybody
either.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody ever will, but and I love it because we're going to be coming from two different perspectives here. Like, I'm a single person in the business realm, and Sarah's going to be coming at it like from a mom. And we all deal with comparison. I was thinking the other day, the moment we wake up and roll out of bed, I think so many of us, because I know I do, have a habit to like, what do? Pick up our phone. And normally we're probably just checking to see what time it is or turn off our alarm, but then the habit is go right to social media. What's going on social media? What did I miss? Which, Sarah, you don't have social media. So
I don't.
That's nice that that's not a habit that you have to break. But, and I mean, if you want to keep that habit, you can. I did not want to keep that habit because right away it sent me into comparing myself. And I didn't realize it at first. But as you're scrolling through Instagram, this person's like, yeah, I just made a sale over here on this home, or bragging about whatever it is, you know,
it's
or
just overwhelming probably.
Yeah, and you see, oh, look at that cute new outfit, I need that. Or they're like, look at this thing I bought over here, and you're like, I need that. And that's the first thought on my mind when I wake up in the morning. That's not what I wanted. So I'm happy to dig into that today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have social media, so I know that that's a lot of it. So that is one of the reasons I didn't want social media, but there's a lot of reasons. I'm just not a sharer, and I just didn't really care to have one. But I mean, Pinterest, same thing. I can go on Pinterest and see like, oh my goodness, look at this beautiful house. Like, look, they're, look at all these different outfits, whatever. It's just like the same thing that, on this social media world, it's so easy to get caught up in. Just like we need bigger, better, everything.
Right. And I know a lot of times people will say, why don't you share the bad on social media too? Well, I think there's a lot of reasons, but one of them, the reality is we only have so much time in a day, okay?
Right.
So if I'm going to spend some time on social media, I'm going to go on there and tell them something great that happened today. Not because I want, and honestly, not in my mind, I'm not like, I want everyone to see the best part. Like, no, it's just like, that's easier to go on and share the good news instead of
everything's sad or bad, or like, here's my messy house instead of this perfectly clean house that's going to last 1 minute.
So I know social media gets the bad rap, but I don't know, some people might do it on purpose that want to keep up a good image, but I think part of it is just it's reality, it's when you call up your friend and say, hey, how's it going? Rarely do you start off with,
here's all the bad in my life.
The hot water heater broke and the washer's not spinning out, or, like normally
and
you
I feel like it's all
that.
Perspective too. Like everything in moderation is okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with social media. It's just like how we use it or how we consume it,
How we consume it, I think, is huge because it is consuming us. It's going into our mind, and unless we are aware and like trapping those lies and those thoughts, it definitely could spiral us out of control, that's for sure.
And there's always the unfollow or button if there's people that that are negative and bringing you down. Follow them. There's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of my friends have a lot of like positive people on there, or just parenting things, like just random things that are helpful to them, and it's not all negative.
I would definitely agree with that. But when we start comparing ourselves with other people, the first thing it does is robs us of our joy. We are not being grateful for what we have, and I'm not saying this to preach at anyone, because this is something I preach at myself constantly. But automatically I'm thinking, oh, if only I had this, my life would be better, and I'm not grateful for what I do have. And I read a really great article about how the biggest problem is we just take our mind and our focus off of Christ. And as believers, that's where our focus should be anyways.
And then we just start, that's why I wrote down to only God and his purpose for our life can bring true contentment, because we're focused on everything else instead of God and what we should be doing with our lives. So it's so easy to get caught up in that. And like you said, I'm definitely not arrived in that category either. And
I mean, it creeps in without us even knowing it. And it can get us into financial trouble. It can get us into all kinds of trouble, For me, it just steals my happiness, and I'm grumpy. And then when I really stop to think why, it's like, oh, wow, because I think I'm failing in this area compared to this person. But that's not how our Heavenly Father sees us,
I think COVID actually helped me be more thankful and grateful for what I had, because not only like we were stuck in our homes, we had nowhere to go. We couldn't, go out in the world and do things. So all that busyness was gone. And then, People dying, unfortunately, all over the world, sick, people in the hospital. And then it just made me realize, like, okay, I might think I need bigger, better, everything, but I have a healthy family. I have a job that I was able to keep when, so many people were losing their jobs. I had a healthy daughter. I had a house to live in. I had a car. And just like the little things that we take for granted. I think, one positive of COVID was that kind of put that in perspective to me, because I was stuck at home. No one was going anywhere. No one was doing anything. And it just made me just more thankful for what I did have in my home.
It definitely sounds like a mind shift too, because instead of looking as on Pinterest or something like, oh, I wish my house was this color, or I wish my kitchen looked like this, it was, no, I'm thankful I have a kitchen.
Right.
So definitely a big mind shift there, which I think is so important. But yeah, when you stay grateful for what you do have, it really helps you to not be jealous of someone else.
And I think like what you mentioned before is living within your means, because especially when you own a home, I'm sure because you sell homes all the time, it's just when you own a home, you just think of all, because we have a fixer-upper, as you know, and we're slowly fixing it up, as it's in our budget. So it would be so nice, just, take a huge loan out and just have our whole house remodeled. But also I don't think that's, what we're going to do. We're going to live within our means and fix it up slowly. But it's so hard sometimes because you think like, oh my goodness, I can't wish this bathroom was like remodeled, or this room was, remodeled, but I just think that I remind myself like, wow, I'm thankful we have a home, and that we are able to afford a home and buy a home, and I'm just going to be content with what I have.
Yeah. And another thought is, to add to that would be, what does your Heavenly Father say? So, if we're going to Him and saying, Father, would I truly be happy? Is that really your intention for me to take out a loan to pay this off? But then would I truly be happy? Is that really what you have for me? And He might say yes, but He might say no. And so, again, when we get His perspective on it, thinking back into the Bible, we start right away with Cain and Abel. I mean, that is a picture of where jealousy came into place, and it resulted in murder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's horrible. So comparison is definitely not a good thing. Jacob and Esau, again, he wanted the birthright, didn't think it was fair, all of that. Another situation of comparison back and forth. And we could go on, but I thought that was so interesting when I was looking into it, and I thought, wow, just comparison led to murder. Yeah, led to somebody being murdered. And I mean, I hope that Cain and Abel, like, he really didn't want to murder his brother, but it's amazing how that comparison can really take over your mind like that.
And it just brings you down. So, you just feel like, oh, everything's a mess. My house, I need a better house. I need a better car. Everything piles up on you, and you just realize, you have so much to be grateful for. And I think that kind of learning to put the focus on others instead of yourself, which I know that you yourself, in your church do so much to serve others and serve the kids. And I think that when we start, doing things for others and stop focusing on ourselves, that really makes you more content and thankful for what you have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that. So what's something we could do to stop comparing ourselves with others? I would say, number one, talk to your Heavenly Father. Somebody once told me to see yourself as through the eyes of your Heavenly Father's eyes. So how does He view me? Does He view me as, oh, you're not as skinny as so-and-so, or, oh, you're not as wealthy as so-and-so? He doesn't see me that way. So when you stop and change your perspective there, that changes a lot. But number two, think of others. I totally agree with that. What are other ways we could give back? Fix our eyes on God is, I think, the huge solve it for all of it.
I agree.
Count
and it's
your
like
blessings.
So easy to say, but so hard to do, because how many times a day do we think of, oh, I need to buy this, I need to go on Amazon, get this is so important, and then you realize like, okay, I'm doing it again. And it's so easy to fall back into that trap of, I need more, I need bigger, I need better, I wish I had this, this person's going on vacation, like I should take a vacation, all these things, and it's just so easy to go back into that trap. But I agree, just putting your focus back on to where it belongs.
And it's selfish. We're feeding our own selfish ambitions. But when you sit back and look at it, like, what does comparison bring you? Does it bring you happiness? Does it bring you contentment? Does it bring you a closer walk with God? No. I mean, it's not for me. Maybe it does for someone else, but it doesn't for me. And so when I sit back and look at it that way, I have to disagree with that. Like, I have to stop that comparison game. I have to. And sometimes that might mean, I really don't just scroll through Instagram, because that's where I don't realize it, but I'm like, oh, I need that. And oh, look at that person's doing better than me. And oh my goodness, look at that new hairstyle. And I'm like, wait a minute, Heavenly Father, how do you see me? Where do we need to be at today? But man, I don't know of any good that comes from comparison.
And I think as a parent, like Amy has brought it to my attention so many times, is that you think, oh, I'm, this person's, kids are more well-behaved than mine, or their parenting style is better, or just, but God, Amy told me one time that, God picked you as the perfect parent for Aria when Aria was little.
Yeah.
And that just hit me so hard, because it's true. Like, God chose me and Sammy as the parent for her, and, she doesn't need any different parents or, perfect parents, but God chose us for a reason. And that really hit home for me as a parent.
I love that, because that's your journey. It's not anybody else's. I was not called to be the parent to your children. So I think that's absolutely beautiful. I want to end the podcast today, though, with Colossians 3:15 through 17. And I'm using a different version here. I'm using the TPT version, but it's, let your heart be always guided by the peace of the Anointed One, who called you to peace as part of his one body, and always be thankful. He called us to peace. So comparison, if that's bringing me peace, then I want to do that. But for me, it's not bringing me any peace. So I definitely don't want to go that way. And then in Philippians 2, it says, so I'm asking you, my friends, that you be joined together in perfect unity with one heart, one passion, and united in love. Walk together with one harmonious purpose, and you will fill my heart with unbounded joy.
I love that verse.
Yeah, I thought that was so beautiful for this, but be joined together in perfect unity. So from the Girl Talk podcast today, as far as comparison, we hope that you will recognize that comparison when it creeps in, and that you'll disagree with it, so that you can live a fully satisfied, happy life the way that your Heavenly Father designed. We'll catch you next week on Girl Talk. Hey, girlfriends, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast today. We are grateful to have you here.
We are Girlfriends Just Talking. We want to encourage women to live an intentional, powerful, positive, and spirit-filled life.
Come check us out over on Instagram and Facebook, where we have a community of women encouraging other women. We'll see you there.